welcome back to Getaway Day. As always, I am Mason, he is Gautam, and we are back after a couple of weeks off. Probably should have done a little bit better job of, telling people that we weren't going to record for a couple weeks, but I forgot that our trip was so close, and then we were on it. So, things happen, whatever.
We were on it, and then we were back all of a sudden. It was amazing.
It's weird. I'm not a big fan of being back. Like, I would like to still be on the trip. My wallet very much appreciates being back, as does my back. Because
they're just small details, right?
Who needs a back? Who needs money?
Exactly. But we had a great time. It was an awesome trip.
It was. And for those of you who are completely unaware, this is now our third year going on what we call Getaway Week. So basically, me, Gautam, and our good friend Matthew, who has been a guest host on the pod a couple of times, we all basically pick a couple cities. We will schedule games as many days as humanly possible in the week that we are there. And then we will basically just go have a grand old time, check out the stadiums, the cities, watch a whole bunch of baseball, and it's a great time.
Yeah, what's that saying about like eating, sleeping, drinking, baseball? Like that's what we do for the week. We just get immersed in the different cities, baseball cities, and we had some fun like acting like Pirates fans when we were in Pittsburgh. We tried to remember.
I successfully confused about 5 different people into thinking that I was a Pirates fan.
Yeah, we were like hardcore Pirates fans for a total of 3 days.
Yeah. And I got my Stargell stars. So 8 different times I have convinced people I was a Pirates fan. That's how I earn my stars. So
pretty good.
But yeah, this was a great trip. A bit different from trips that we've done in the past couple of years. So I think 2 years ago we did Arizona for just a really quick night game, and then we left already. But San Diego, Los Angeles, Anaheim, and beautiful coastal cities. 2 beautiful ballparks. 2 other ballparks. Yeah. Expensive as all get out. Just being out in California for that long, holy cow. Then last year, New York, Cooperstown, and Boston. Beautiful East Coast cities. Incredibly expensive to be there for a long time. 2 beautiful stadiums. A 3rd beautiful, not quite as historic stadium. And the Hall of Fame. This year, we kind of cut back a little bit. I think all of us are kind of hurting financially from the last 2 trips. So we decided to do some Midwest stadiums that a few of us had been to. All 3 were brand new for me. So we went to Pittsburgh, we went to Cleveland, and we went to Detroit. So I think it probably would behoove us to just start at the beginning of this trip. So what do you think?
Sounds good.
Do I start with the game that you weren't there? Probably.
I feel like you have to talk about that. I can't really talk about it. I was watching it in the airport, though.
So on the 4th of July, Matthew and I actually drove from our homes here in Indiana all the way out to Pittsburgh over the course of the 3rd and the 4th. Got there just in time for first pitch of the final game of the series between the Cardinals and the Pirates. We met a dude sitting there in the stadium, sitting right next to me. Just so happened to have grown up like 2 hours from where I live now. So it was a fun conversation throughout the course of the entire game. I think we spent more time talking to him than actually watching the game. But that being said, that game went to extra innings and the Cardinals ended up winning. So overall, I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
But it was my first experience in Pittsburgh. I can't remember the name of the dog, but it was a hot dog that had it was wrapped in capicola with Parmesan, like little fries and a couple other things on it. It was so good.
That does sound really good.
Yeah. And then we had to wait for this dude to show up at the airport.
Yeah, after my flight was heavily delayed, but we all made it there, and then we get to Friday, which was
Well, you forgot to mention that we won trivia night.
we won trivia night.
We've never been wrong.
Never,
Never.
not once.
But yeah.
But yeah, I think Friday is the game that we want to talk about for sure because this was one of the most like exciting start to finish games that any of us has ever been to, and it all started with Paul Skeens being on the hill for the Pirates.
Actually, I think an important note that is going to help set this story up. Uh-oh. I don't want the MLB draft to be playing in the background. Sorry about that. The notable point that I wanted to make, the 4th of July game, 17,000 seats sold. The place was less than half full on a holiday on a Thursday. So that was odd.
It was odd, but it's also not that surprising if you've ever watched Pirates games on TV. It's like, when is that place ever full? Basically never.
Yeah, but you would think the one day that everybody has off and is looking for something to do before the fireworks start at dark, you would think a cheap Pirates game would be the way to go. But oh well.
But oh well, they were saving their money for Friday night in Pittsburgh. And we could already tell before the game started, as gates were opening, essentially, like people are lined up, and there was like quite a lot of people kind of around the surrounding areas of the ballpark, standing in lines to get in for the giveaway, the Pirates bucket hat, which is pretty awesome. By the way, Mason's going to get that right now. But yeah, like good vibe around the ballpark, and it was two things. I mean, giveaway is great, but number one reason that everyone's coming for the Pirates game is Paul Skeens is pitching this game, and Mason's got his bucket hat on now. So,
kind of backwards, but oh well.
but it doesn't matter. Yeah, it goes any way you want it to go.
It's reversible. It's black on the other side. It's great.
It is a great giveaway. But yeah, Paul Skeens pitching this game, and I guess when he first came out on the mound in that game, I was just like, it like connected in my head. Like obviously I knew that he's a big guy, but I just saw him and I was like, that guy is huge. He's massive.
Yeah, I mean, you
And
look at guys like Jack Sawinski and O'Neill Cruz, and you're like, those guys are massive. Then all of a sudden, you see Skeens out here with this little like '90s borderline pedo stash, and it's just like, holy crap! He makes O'Neill Cruz look tiny.
yeah,
Oh,
seriously,
how tall is Paul Skeens?
he's 6'6".
So he doesn't really make O'Neill look tiny. He just makes him look normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Probably the only guy who can do that. So
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, but no, that was insane. Like, I mean, being there the day before and seeing Pirates fans not really being all that excited in a game on the 4th of July that they're actually very much in. I mean, it went to extra innings, so they were very much in that game. But nobody was really hyped at any point, and it just seemed like nobody cared. And then all of a sudden, Friday, Paul Skeens touches the mound. And that place was electric.
yeah,
Like, and we had the best seats to like experience that too. We were what 25-ish rows off the field, right behind home plate.
yeah. So we got a great view of him pitching, and the game just got better as it progressed. Basically, beginning of the game, Skeens, he was doing decent, but he kind of was taking a lot of pitches to get through. He gave up, I think, he gave up a couple home runs, or he gave up a home run to Jeff McNeil in the third inning. That was like, wow, what's going on here? He seems kind of off his game. And then kind of as the game progressed, he just was getting stronger and stronger, having quick innings, and he was awesome. He was just great in
Well,
the start.
well, and he had started the game out by basically throwing splitters most of the time, right? Like
Yeah,
he didn't really throw many fastballs until about the third or fourth inning, and then all of a sudden he starts laying in fastball after fastball after fastball, and he gave up that home run to McNeil in the third, and then
he gave up one more run in the fourth.
yeah, that's what I was looking for. But for some reason, the summary on game day just straight up doesn't have the Mets running the fourth in here at all.
What?
Yeah,
You gotta
it
look at
literally
box
goes
score.
straight from top of the third to bottom of the fourth.
Oh, you must have it filtered like for like the key
Oh, it's
plays.
key moments. Okay, I see. Um, ground into a force out. And then Alonso scored. But yeah, but then the fourth inning is where the fun started.
Yes.
So we do home run challenge. I posted it on both Twitter and TikTok this year. So if you're not on TikTok and you haven't seen it before, go check out our Twitter at Getaway Day Pod. But each of the three of us, plus our special guests, if we have any for that game, will pick a player. And if that player hits a home run, the other guys have to buy them a jersey. If that player hits 2 or more home runs, everyone else buys them a jersey. Well, Matthew picked Rowdy Tellez. I picked Jack Sawinski. And in the fourth inning, Rowdy Tellez homers to right center, and it left the stadium. It crossed over like right where the right field bleachers end at the 375 sign, and it just cleared the stadium. It was a massive home run. It was so cool, and Gautam missed it.
I did.
And then, was Sawinski right after Tellez, or
I think it was like there was one batter
in between? Yeah, and then Sawinski comes up and jacks a home run to right center into the stands right there, but it would have also left the park. So both Matthew and I hit in that game, and that's just the beginning. Like this game just got better.
It got better, and the early part of this game was actually like flying by. The first 6 innings actually went by in probably 90 minutes, maybe like close to 2 hours, something like maybe not even 2 hours, but like maybe 90 minutes.
It was well under 2 hours.
Yeah. So this game's speeding by, and then Luis Severino, who had given up several home runs at this point, is still pitching into the 7th inning, and this is where things get crazy, and the Pirates just start absolutely teeing off on Severino. They got the bases loaded in well, let's see. Brian Reynolds hit a home run in the 5th inning. And then in the 7th inning, he ended up hitting a grand slam off Jake Diekman after Severino had been pulled. So you think, okay, Pirates, like, they blew it out of the water. They scored like 8 runs in this game. Cool. Just a regular old blowout, but with some great performances from Brian Reynolds and other guys that hit homers. We go to the 8th inning, and this was the most insane inning ever, where the Pirates end up scoring 6 more runs, with the big blow being the grand slam and second home run of the game for Rowdy Tellez. And the Pirates like put up a 14 spot on the Mets.
Yeah, and this game was wild just from a couple standpoints. One, a couple of guys who hit home runs in this game. Like, so both Brian Reynolds and Rowdy Tellez had 2 homers each, and each one of them had a grand slam. Like, that's crazy.
That's never happened in history.
Really?
Yeah, that's literally never happened before.
I did not know that. I was about to talk about the other part of history.
Go ahead.
So, Yasmani Grandal hits a home run. Michael A. Taylor hits a home run, which that one should be like, huh? Did they bring the fences in 200 feet? How did Taylor get one out? But no, he legit home run. Oppo, I might add. So dang. Um, but yeah, it got to the point where after 5 home runs, they put up a message on the video board saying, "We've hit so many home runs, we have actually run out of fireworks."
This is insane, they said.
Yeah, this is insane. We've run out of fireworks. Which, by the way, the video board people, phenomenal in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they did an awesome job. They would always throw up a little key tidbit that was very relevant to the situation. So they'd be live updating that thing by at bat, and that's not typically what you see on a video board. You just see, some fact that they have canned that they already have ready for you, and
Yeah, but
nothing.
then like one of the stats for this game was this is the first time that we've hit 6 home runs in a game in Pittsburgh since 1947.
Yeah.
Well, they hit 7 home runs, which is only the 5th time that has ever happened in Pirates history. So it just an absolutely crazy game. And we talked about the home runs that started in like the 4th inning, but we didn't even mention that Paul Skeens continued to pitch, went 7 innings, I believe, on 106 pitches or 107 pitches or something like that. Does that sound
Yeah,
right?
107 pitches, which was the most he had ever pitched in a game, still is.
In a major or in a professional game, he
Yep.
pitched 150 in a game for LSU.
Yeah, pro game. But yeah, he got stronger as the game went along, and was absolutely dominant by the end of it. And for a game where he clearly didn't have his best stuff to start, he ended up with 7 innings pitched, just 4 hits allowed, 8 strikeouts, the 1 home run to McNeil, which don't know
And
how that happened.
in the 2 earned runs, which lowered his ERA
I think
even
it actually
more.
raised it at that point.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
Oh, so if I go back in time, does the ERA, it pops in the box score, does that update game by game?
I think so.
Oh, that's dumb. They should tell
Wait,
you
no,
what their
no,
ERA was at the time.
I think they do.
Yeah. So
I think
okay.
his ERA was.
So it was 212 at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he lowered it that game by only giving. No, because I guess
No,
technically there'd be 2
pretty
more.
sure it was.
There'd be 2
I'm
more
pretty
innings
sure it
in the
was
9.
lower, yeah.
Yeah. I
Yep.
forgot how math works.
Okay. Did you lose that over the trip or something?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Matthew
Yeah,
kept putting those really good sodas in my hand.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable game, and the crowd was all in for this game, obviously, and 37,000 plus got to see it, sellout crowd in Pittsburgh, and it's like it's such a cool thing because it's a glimpse of what baseball in Pittsburgh could look like if they really build around Paul Skeens. Like they can have players like this that are just absolutely electric, bring out the crowds, but for right now, it's just like a novelty item right now. I don't know like if it's gonna last.
Yeah. Like it feels like it's not going to, just because that's how Bob Nutting and that organization operate. The fact that Brian Reynolds got an extension, he did get an extension, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's odd to me that they actually shelled out money for Brian Reynolds. But this is a team that is pretty much built itself on having some cult favorites like your Rowdy Tellez, who this last month has been phenomenal. The first 2 months of the season, he was not good. And then all of a sudden, he's like the best hitter in the league. But I don't know. The city would do really, really well and show up for a team if the team showed up for them. And that game kind of proves it. Because it was amazing.
I guess like with as much as we rag on the Pirates and their organization mostly, they have a great ballpark. They have a fan base that totally would support the Pirates if given a better chance to do so.
Yeah, I mean, this is the
it would be
same fan
awesome.
base that roots for the Steelers. Like, we know they're
Exactly.
diehards.
Yeah.
There's and the Penguins. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that if they put up a good team, that city would show up.
I liked actually. This is kind of related to like current state of baseball right now, but there's a rumor that they were talking with the Angels about Taylor Ward. So tells me, hey, they're actually like serious about the season. They're not just doing regular pirate stuff. They're gonna go for it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the one other thing I wanted to give a shout out to is so there was only one other pitcher that came into that game for the Pirates. Do you remember who it was?
Yeah, it was Dalton Jeffries.
Yes, I believe that was uh, the best game that Jeffries has pitched in his professional career.
Well, then
Uh,
he went on the injured list
yeah,
immediately after that game.
2 innings, 1 hit, 3 Ks, no runs. Like that was easily one of the best performances of his career. So
Yeah. And it got so bad for the Mets they had to bring in who pitched? There was a position player that pitched in the
Luis
game.
Torrens.
Luis Torrens, yeah.
Yeah, he got the final out. He has a perfect 0 ERA, 0 WHIP in his career. Dude's legit. I'm telling you.
He's legit.
Too legit to quit. He should just keep pitching.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, then but the other thing we did that day, I believe it was that day, right? Because that's the day that we thought it was gonna rain. We were gonna go hang out in a restaurant first, but we just ended up walking around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the other thing that Pittsburgh does so well that I wish other teams and cities would go look at is all of their stuff outside the park that you don't have to pay for to see the history of not just the Pirates but the Homestead Grays and the Pittsburgh Crawfords of the Negro Leagues. So they have a giant baseball along the Riverwalk for each and every Hall of Famer from any of those 3 Pittsburgh teams. They also have like, was it 3 or 4 statues? They had Bill Mazeroski, Roberto Clemente, Honus Wagner, and I think they had one other. But like just all of the stuff outside, including their like walk through on the hill retired number park, that was cool.
It was very cool, yeah.
And they did a really good job of not just doing like retired numbers, but retired numbers in a way that represents the city. It was all with steel I-beams and a whole bunch of stuff. And so it just was very, very fitting being right next to the Roberto Clemente Bridge. Like that was really cool.
Totally. Yeah, that's an awesome walk to make kind of along the river after you've crossed the bridge towards the stadium, and then to jump into the some of the stuff about the stadium itself. Like for a place that's over 20 years old, it's pristine. They've done a very, very good job of keeping it up to date, and it's a great place to take in a ball game. And maybe maybe I'm biased by the experience from that first game, but you get a great view of the river and the bridge in the background, and it appears that there's a like great sight lines from anywhere you can sit in that ballpark. Really.
Yeah, I mean, like game 3 that we haven't talked about yet, we sat in the right field bleachers, and that was a really good view. Like,
Yep.
but no, the one thing that I do think they need to maybe spend a little bit of time on is the bathrooms. They are so dark, and they look so grungy. Like,
Okay.
it just honestly, a little bit of white paint and a couple of like LED lights would go a
Hey, man,
long way.
that's not in the budget, sir.
Well, they already don't have the radio playing in there, I don't think. Like,
That's tough. Yeah.
yeah, like, so you don't know what's happening while you're peeing,
Yeah.
but oh well. But yeah, I legitimately think that was the only thing in that stadium that, like, throughout 3 games there, that I went, this isn't terribly nice. I'm not a fan of this.
Right. But
And
all the
it was,
exterior parts are like great.
yeah, like, I mean, bathrooms should be clean, and I assume these are clean. They
Yeah.
just don't give the appearance of it. And so, like, when that's your only issue, that's a pretty good stadium.
Yeah, if anything, that's just a nitpick, right? It's
Yeah,
not like
exactly.
critical.
It's a
Yeah.
nitpick. That's what it is. But it did bump them down from number 1 all the way to number 17 on my list. So,
Yeah,
whatever.
whatever.
But yeah, game 3 though.
Yeah, game three, they played the Mets. The Pirates played the Mets in this one. We sat out in right field, and this ended up being kind of a game that the Mets led for most of the game. Our home run guys, the big boppers like Alonso and Vientos, were terrible in this game. I think Bailey Falter got injured, unfortunately, and Pirates went to their bullpen. Um, and the Pirates had some chances actually in this game. Rowdy pinch hit. He got on base. The Pirates loaded the bases, I believe, and then they ended up falling short in their attempt to come back late in the game. But it was it was a fun game to be at. Still, we got a different view. And um, anything else you got notable from this game?
Yes. So the 14-2 game the day before with Paul Skeens pitching took 2 hours and 38 minutes. Can you tell me how long game 3 that finished 5-2 took?
I feel like it was definitely longer. I feel like it was about 3 hours.
It was 2 hours and 43 minutes.
Okay.
So when you can score 16 runs in less time than 7, dang.
Yeah.
That's really just pointing more towards how crazy the Thursday game or the Friday game was. Like more than anything. Like
Yeah,
the
very
Saturday game was a decent game. Like it wasn't boring at all. There were hits. There were people on base a decent amount, and
Yeah.
ended up scoring 7 runs on 17 hits. So like it wasn't a boring game. But the game before, holy cow.
Yeah, that one's tough to match up to.
Yeah.
But they also did have a decent crowd for this game too, with the luau continuing and
Yeah,
Hawaiian shirts being handed out.
so the full capacity of PNC Park is a little over 37,000 seats. Uh, the the first game, like I said, 17,000 on 4th of July. A complete sellout of, I believe it was 37,006 for the Skeens game, and then 36,009 for the third game. So they do sell really well on weekend games, it seems, because like Bailey Falter is not exactly a huge draw of a pitcher. So like
Yeah.
I would have to assume that's just like it's a weekend day game. People can make it out, and the game before was just wild.
Yeah.
So
And
the hype from that.
the other thing we got out of this game was it was a late afternoon 4 p.m. start. So we kind of saw how the shadows traveled across the field. There were some innings where, half the where the batter was just like in the shade and the pitcher was in the sun. So that was kind of interesting. O'Neill Cruz hit a home run that left the yard on a bounce into the river.
Yep. I will say this was my least favorite game of the week because I got sunburned that game. It's the
Yeah.
only game that I got sunburned out of 5 games.
Hey, it's not bad.
No, that was like one of the best trips I've ever been on as far as not getting like leg cancer or something.
Yeah.
So. But I'm still going to have to ding that one because my legs were very warm and hurty after that.
I feel like you can't ding the game for
I'm
that. I
dinging
feel
the
like
game
that's on
for it.
you.
This is personal preference. I'm dinging the game.
Okay, fine.
But then we traveled from Pittsburgh to Cleveland right after the game. Got into Cleveland late that night, stayed kind of right next to the stadium and the Cavs stadium. Like that's a cool little area.
Hmm.
And then day game in Cleveland.
But before the day game, right?
Before the day game.
Yeah, we went and saw something very cool, which we
Oh,
would
yes.
highly
Yes, yes,
recommend.
yes. So, Cleveland, Ohio. The original Major League Baseball team in Cleveland was the Cleveland Spiders, starting in 1891. The first pitcher to pitch on the mound at League Park in Cleveland was none other than Cy Young. League Park is still partially standing in Cleveland. They have like the grandstand wall that goes behind the first base line, and the original ticket office still standing. And they've opened a museum in there for League Park, and just kind of showing like some of the different teams that have played there, be it the Negro League teams, Major League teams, international teams that have come and played games there. The All American Girls Professional Baseball League, all the Sandlot leagues of Cleveland that were a huge deal back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And that was one of the coolest things that I think I've seen. They have rebuilt the field in the exact dimensions. It's a modern field. Like, you're not going to get the same feel of being like in League Park where Cy Young pitched, but all the dimensions are the same. They've got a whole bunch of stuff paying homage to that original stadium, and the folks in the museum were so nice.
Yeah,
like, that
they
was
were
a
awesome.
really good experience, and for not very much money at all. It's $10 a pop, I think. It's a small museum. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to spend all day there. You're going to spend maybe 2 hours, but it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. They've done a great job with that museum, and the staff there, they were fantastic.
Yeah.
Go pay them a visit. And I wanted to mention about walking on the field, because we were lucky enough to be able to go walk on the field. We walked to dead center field, which is
460 feet.
460 feet away from home plate, and that gives you like just a sense of how far that dimension is, and how different the game was when they used that ballpark, because it's nothing like what we have in any ballpark today.
So this is the same ballpark where Babe Ruth hit his 500th home run. The right field fence is only 290 from the plate, but it's massive. It's like 40 feet tall. It's about the size of the Green Monster, but set back further. But I actually asked one of the groundskeepers that was working that day, half jokingly, if like when they're playing their games, because there was one of the what do they call it? What
Pan
was
Am game.
Yeah, the Pan Am games. One of the teams from Cleveland was there, so I just asked if while they're playing, if I could just set up a lawn chair out in dead center field, because the ball had never reached me there. And he goes, "Well, these guys are playing, no, but in the original stadium, because it didn't have enough seats, they would actually do that. They would sell seats that you would sit in the outfield on the warning track." He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." So yeah, even back then, like, that's so far back. The only play that has ever been made that far out is Willie Mays' The Catch that happened in the Polo
Well,
Grounds. Well, it's not the
well,
only one. It's the only like major
that's the
known one.
famous one. I bet there were some pretty crazy things that happened
Well,
in that
yeah,
outfield.
probably.
Yeah.
But that's the one that people know.
Can you imagine like sitting in center field, and then you're in like a chair, and then the ball's coming at you and you're like, "Oh, let me," you like start scurrying and pick up your chair and run out of the way?
I would leave my chair. Well, assuming it was the opposing team that was fielding at the time, would leave my
Yeah.
chair.
All right.
Yeah. Plus, the chairs back then were much smaller. People weren't nearly as hefty, and we
Yeah.
didn't have all the plasticky chairs that are like big loungy ones. It was just a chair. That's all it was. But yeah, no, that was so cool though.
Indeed.
They still have the original stairs that went from the clubhouse down to the tunnel that took you out to the field. Those are actually preserved in one of their little buildings. And they've got a really cool mural of Babe Ruth walking out onto the field. So.
Yeah, and then from there, we went to the game in Cleveland, and they played the Giants. The Guardians played the Giants that game, and we had a different experience that game because we ended up sitting in the club seats. So that was different for me. I've never done that before.
I've never been in
Um,
an all-inclusive club,
yeah,
especially one for that cheap.
yeah,
Like that was actually a really cool experience.
yeah, it was. And the seats are good too. You know, you're on the first base side, a little bit. You're basically on the mezzanine level,
Yeah,
and
just past first base is where we were, but
yep,
the stadium is so small. It's the smallest stadium in the major leagues. As far as like what it can hold attendance wise, it's like 35,000 or something, like 34,000, something
yeah,
like that.
that's right. Yeah,
Um, there will be one smaller than it once Tampa gets their new stadium, but it allows the stadium to be a lot smaller. Things are a lot closer to the field, and it makes the view really, really cool because you feel like you're sitting right on top of the game.
yep.
Yeah, and that game was pretty fun too. I mean, San Francisco was up 3-0 early. Cleveland ended up hitting or driving in a couple runs there in the fourth, but then in the sixth inning, Sean Jelly came in, tallest. What were you telling me? Tallest pitcher in Major League history?
Correct. He's 6'11".
6'11". Good lord. Well, he comes in and pitching to pinch hitter Little Bo Naylor, who I think is maybe the smallest catcher in Major League history. That's a lie. That's a lie. I'm saying that to make this sound more cool. Bo Naylor absolutely teed off for a 3-run home run to take the lead. And Matt had, or no, not Matt, you had picked Josh Naylor to hit the home run.
I did, yes.
So you picked the wrong Naylor, and none of us picked Bo because he wasn't in the lineup.
Yeah, but story about that home run and where we were taking a walk, you and I, to see if we could see the Guardians on the highway. And we did find them, and then we decided to just duck into an upper deck section, and we took a seat there, and that's where we saw the big pinch hit home run, and that was really cool because um, the stadium was kind of going nuts for that because pinch hit home run Bo Naylor and um, gave them the lead and everything. So that was sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, in the rubber match, I believe, right? Because it was a 1-1
Yep.
series at that point.
Yeah, and Cleveland's kind of having a dream season this year. Totally surprising most of the league, and they've been great in the rubber matches as Mark told us,
Mm-hmm.
and they did it again in this game. And we saw Emmanuel Clase close it out for his 27th save of the year.
Second best reliever in baseball. I'm waiting for Mark to start yelling as I'm saying that. I hear
He
it all
has
the
a
way from Ohio.
.85 ERA.
Yeah, but you know what? All right, so one more stadium, one more game, and then I kind of want to talk about stadiums and where we rank them.
Sure.
So after that game on Sunday, we drove up to Ann Arbor, stayed the night there, and then went into Detroit on Monday. And it was an evening game there in Detroit. So we spent some time driving around, checking some stuff out. And then we ended up, we were in a debate for a little bit on, do we get Little Caesars at the game to have our Detroit style pizza, or do we do something else and then the game is going to be something more interesting? We opted to go with get our Detroit style pizza before the game. So we went to Grandma Bob's, and it was amazing.
Go to Grandma Bob's.
Go to Grandma Bob's.
Immediately, right now, actually.
Yeah, drop what you're doing, get a plane ticket to Detroit. Everybody swarm it. It's not a very big building, so you're going to be waiting in line. But yeah, that was so good.
That was some good pizza.
But yeah, so we met up with a buddy, college buddy of ours, Kyle. You'll see him on the home run challenge videos if you go check those out. But we met up with him. This is the one stadium we didn't actually get an opportunity to walk all the way around, which I kind of would like to. So I'm gonna take that into account whenever I do my rankings here. But yeah, that was I will say that was probably the most boring game of the trip.
Yeah, definitely. It was like it was just it was really low action. Actually,
Yeah, Cleveland
we saw
followed us from
Cleveland.
Cleveland up to
Yeah,
Detroit. So
yep. So Cleveland and Detroit, and um, Detroit had a rookie pitcher Keeter Montero, uh, and this guy basically mowed down the Guardians for like 6 innings. And Gavin Williams pitched for Cleveland. He also pitched very well in this game, but generally there were like a very low number of base runners, and the game was decided on an error by Cleveland shortstop Brian Rocchio in the bottom of the 8th inning that allowed one run to score for Detroit, and the game ended up as a 1-0 final.
yeah, and that run, can I just point out who it was, because that's gonna make it so much worse?
Tell them.
Is Jake Rogers.
Jake Rogers. Yeah.
Jake Rogers scored on an error to win a game 1-0. Like, I got nothing against Jake Rogers, but he's not like the best hitting catcher in the league. He's actually a bit closer, I think, to maybe Austin Hedges.
I feel like Jake Rogers is like an average catcher.
I said he's closer to Austin Hedges than he is to like JT Realmuto.
I suppose.
Yeah. He's there more for his defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, I mean,
say
it was still a fun game though. Like the stadium from the parts that we saw was beautiful. Like the cool thing. Oh, sorry, I cut you off. I'll let you go.
I was just gonna say, yeah, the one thing about Detroit that stood out to me now that I've been there 2 times is it's like it's not the best atmosphere, and that mostly I think has to do with the team and also having to go see them like during the week on a Monday night. It's not really like the most popular event, um, but it's a really good place to actually watch a game, and I think that was we got that experience from that game. I was really focused on that game because I was working on my scorecard, and um, we had the bird's eye view from the section 325, and you can basically you can see really well. So I liked sitting where we sat in that game.
Yeah. So the thing that I took away from that is that the Detroit ownership doesn't skimp. Like, and I say that, and you might look at their payroll and some of like the recent like signings and things, and you may be like, I don't understand. But when you walk around that stadium or through that stadium, if they took away every single sign, banner, anything there, and you walked in and someone goes, can you tell me the name of the team that plays here? If you didn't say Tigers, you'd be stupid, because there is a tiger statue everywhere staring directly at you. And there's the entrance was awesome. It's got these 2 giant tigers and baseball bats and a bunch of little other tigers. Like, they spent money on this stadium. And I mean, we've also seen what they did in 2006 and when Dombrowski was there. Like, this is a team that's not afraid to spend money. They just don't have anything to spend money to build around right now. So I think they're just kind of like, what do we do in the meantime? So, but yeah, I like, that was my main takeaway, is like, you look at it and you go, okay, something's different about this team and this ownership, or at least the ownership that built the stadium in 2000. Like, something's different, because this is unique. No one else goes this deep. Like, you're not gonna go into Busch Stadium and see this giant 8-foot statue of a cardinal with a bat. Like, you're not gonna see it. You'll see Fredbird. He's an 8-foot cardinal with a bat, but it's different.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really cool. There was a bunch of statues out in center field. We didn't get an opportunity to go over there and look at them. I would love to go back to Detroit and do a full walk around, see all the stuff, because there's so much history with that club too, going all the way back to Ty Cobb, and then fast forwarding to like Al Kaline and Alan Trammell, and like there's a whole bunch of amazing players that I'm sure they paid homage to that we just didn't see.
Yeah. And even the side we did check out, they had little areas where they were uh, harkening back to different historical things that they wanted to point out. It was actually really cool.
Yeah, it was like every 100 feet they had just like a thing in the middle of the concourse that just had a whole bunch of information about the history of the club, the franchise, the stadium, the old stadium. It was really cool.
I feel like there's more of that in that stadium than I've seen in like most stadiums. It was well above average.
Yeah, which is, I think, one of the things I liked most about it from that game. I mean, granted, a more interesting game, I might have said something different, but it was a beautiful stadium. They did a really good job tying in their history and trying to teach you about the club so that you don't like just this team, you like this club. So, all right. Any other comments about that game, or should we just get to where we would put these stadiums in our rankings?
Yeah, let's get into that.
All right. So Gautam and I have both now been to 18 stadiums. I've been to 2 stadiums he has not, and he has been to 2 that I have not. My 2 are Seattle and Oakland. Your 2 were
Minnesota and Washington.
Okay. So our rankings could differ depending on where those fit in. And they're going to differ anyway because we're us. We're not going to go through all 18. We're mostly just going to talk about where we put these and teams around them. So we will start. Let's start at the end of the trip and work our way back.
All right.
Detroit.
I got Detroit kind of like mid pack, but like towards the lower end of my 18. I have it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have it 7th from the bottom.
What is that? 12?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so that means we did something right, I think.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a beautiful stadium. Don't get me wrong. I think if I were to go and walk around the rest of it, it might bump up 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna surpass like your really historic stadiums, like your Wrigley Field and your Fenway. It's not gonna pass those. It's not gonna pass San Diego and San Francisco. But like there's room for it to move around like some of like Cleveland, Milwaukee, like all these other unique stadiums that have some cool stuff but aren't like the best you've ever been to. All right, so Detroit at 12. Where do you put Cleveland?
I put Cleveland like 3 spots above them, but I also am kind of rethinking that. I don't know, like I like the stadium quite a bit more than I thought I would based on what I've we always talked about this watching games at Cleveland. We thought like
It looks like the
didn't
most
really
boring stadium ever.
it looks pretty generic, but like when you're actually there, there's some cool stuff going on with like the visual of like the kind of big wall in left field. Just like there's a
They're
uniqueness to it.
I can't think of what they called it. I'm going to call it Monument Park because that's what New York calls it. But like their Monument Village thing, their heritage Pavilion. Is that what they called it?
I don't know.
But just that center field back behind the batter's eye where they have all their retired numbers, their Hall of Famers, their team Hall of Famers. Like that was really, really cool.
Yes, yes. Oh, yeah, and I wanted to mention about that. What I really liked actually was the concourses were extremely wide. So there was like a ton of area for people to be. It never felt crowded, even though there was good attendance at the game, and um, everything feels really. It's well laid out. The ballpark is like nicely designed.
Yeah. And if you're ever going and you don't mind spending 70 to 110, get the club seats.
Yeah,
Like the all inclusive food, like beer is the only thing you have to pay for. Soda's free, ice
popcorn.
cream's free,
Uh,
popcorn's free. They have a rotating like chef's section for food. Like for us, it was gyros, but they have like Mexican night and they have a whole bunch of other stuff. That was awesome. Definitely worth it. If you can spend that. If you can't, obviously just get into the stadium. That's first and foremost. But that was really cool. I actually have Cleveland just barely above Detroit, and
Okay.
that's so I have it at 11. It's literally the one above it. Uh, and I'm not solid there because I want to see the rest of Detroit, and I think Detroit could pass it. But yeah, I mean it's the middle of my 18. Like 9 to 11 is kind of all right there in the middle.
Yeah,
It's not a
I
bad
had it at
stadium.
9 initially, so I think we're kind of both in agreement there too.
Yeah, like it's not a bad stadium at all. There's very few bad stadiums in MLB. There are a couple.
Hey,
Oakland and
just
Anaheim.
curious, as a side note, what do you have at the bottom of your list?
Anaheim.
I have Chase Field actually last.
That's third to last for me.
I got Chase Field, Angel, and Nationals Park as my bottom 3.
So I couldn't fault Chase Field too much because we literally never left the first base line.
But it was so dark.
It was so
Like,
dark.
yeah.
But who knows? Maybe a couple lights will fix it and it'll be one of the best stadiums in the world. Maybe
You
it's
would
just
think they would have figured that out by
maybe it's just like the Pirates bathrooms.
yeah. I feel like it matters a little bit more if it's the field though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. But if I say that, then I'm not allowed to call it the Pirates bathroom.
Yeah.
So
Well, let's talk about the top of the list because I think we both have PNC Park more towards the top. Uh,
number one.
Number 1.
Number one.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, PNC. Sorry. My bad. I don't know why my brain just went, yeah, Petco Park. Number one.
Oh, got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
no. PNC is not number one. No.
I was like, wow,
My
that
bad.
really
My bad.
surprised
My
me.
bad. No, I need to learn how to use my ears more and listen to the words that you say and then comprehend what those mean and then formulate a response based on
Well,
that.
I probably maybe confused you because I said the top of the list.
Oh yeah. So I looked at the top and I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Um,
So where does PNC fall on the list?
actually, so I am just gonna list my top 5 in order.
Okay.
Co Park, Oracle Park, San Francisco.
Okay, we got the exact same top 2.
This one is going to be maybe a little bit. It'll be towards the top of yours. I don't think we're going to be the same. Fenway.
Okay, I got Fenway at 5.
Okay. Dodger Stadium.
I got Dodger Stadium at 6.
PNC Park.
Okay, I got PNC at 7. So
Okay.
it's in the ballpark.
So what's your top 5 then?
So I got Petco, Oracle, Wrigley, Yankee Stadium, and Boston.
Yeah. So my next 3 right after Pittsburgh are Yankee Stadium, St. Louis because I'm a homer, and then Wrigley. So like all kind of in there.
Yeah.
St. Louis is probably the one that I have way out of order with yours. I'm guessing you have it closer to like 10 or 11.
Basically, it's like right in the middle. I have it like basically one above Detroit. So I think that's 11 or something.
Yeah. So that checks out. Like it makes sense that I'm going to float it a little higher because I have a lot more memories there.
Yeah.
So
that's fair enough. But yeah, sounds like we both have very similar lists, which doesn't surprise me that much because we've
I,
also
I mean, we go to them
experienced a lot
together.
of those together. So
Yeah.
we color each other's experiences, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah. For better or for worse.
Yeah, yeah,
But no, it was, I love doing this trip every year.
yeah.
I think without putting anything in stone, I think next year's going to be back on the East Coast. Does that sound?
I don't know if we've discussed it yet.
We started talking about it a little bit about maybe Philly, Baltimore, Washington.
Yeah, that would be a good trip.
I don't remember if there was a fourth one in there.
I don't know if there's a fourth one that fits into that.
You guys will let me spend an entire day at a Smithsonian museum.
Ooh, yeah. Oh man,
That's what we're gonna do.
we didn't mention the Heinz Museum because
Oh, we didn't mention the Heinz Museum.
Oh, it did have a lot of like baseball stuff in there. Highly recommend that museum, but you need a lot more time than we were able to spend there.
Yeah, so the Heinz Museum in Pittsburgh, 6 stories. There is exhibits on all 6. The first floor is a like rotating exhibit with the Smithsonian Institute. So it's partnered with the Smithsonian in Washington. The exhibit that they had now is women in the Pittsburgh area, like across all facets of life, like back women in the war in the 40s. We had women in sports. We had women artists, and like all of these like firsts that all came from the Pittsburgh area. That was so cool. I got in trouble for taking too much time that we didn't get to see the rest of the museum. It was highly worth it. 100% believe that. So go check that out if you're in the Pittsburgh area, and check out the rest of the Heinz Museum if you ever get to Pittsburgh.
And then you can finally figure out what happened with the ketchup and everything.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with the ketchup. We never made it to the 4th floor.
No, we never did.
So if someone can explain to me how ketchup, would appreciate that.
I think it just means we have to go back to Pittsburgh.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, if I go into the museum and I just yell, "How ketchup?" What do you think they'll say?
I think you'll get some answers.
Fair enough. And that's all the answers you're going to get for tonight. That is the end of our episode. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. We will be back on Wednesday on Twitch to record next week's episodes. We will see you guys then. If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcasting app or YouTube to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. Join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Getaway Day Pod. If you enjoy card collecting, check out our sister YouTube channel at Getaway Day Cards.